on Global Television News Prime. Federal government reaffirms commitment to strengthening diplomatic ties. In business, Ghana raises cocoa prices ahead of 2025 farming season. On the foreign scene, India, Philippines stages first joint sail naval exercises to South China Sea. And in sports, Tinubu honors the Tigress with national awards, cash prize. Hello and welcome to all viewers in Nigeria and around the world to News Prime on Global Television. Coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja, I am Priscilla Obasi. A quick reminder, the Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times 276. Now the news in detail. Vice President Kashim Shettima has affirmed Nigeria's commitment to strengthening diplomatic ties with the Republic of Congo, acknowledging the leadership of President Denis Sassou Nguesso in promoting regional peace and stability, especially across Africa's Great Lakes region. Speaking at the reception for the Prime Minister of the Republic of Congo, Anoto Colinet Makoso, at the Presidential Villa in Abuja, the Vice President lauded the leadership of the Congolese President, reaffirming Nigeria's commitment to strengthening bilateral ties. Shettima also said Nigeria will consider Congo's request for support in its bid to lead the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization. The federal government has launched a special agro-industrial processing zones program in Ijaye, Ibadan, Oyo State, aimed at transforming Nigeria's agriculture sector. Vice President Kashim Shettima, represented by the Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Senator Abubakar Kyari, described the initiative as a key pillar of President Bola Tinubu's renewed hope agenda. Senator Kyari said the program is designed to drive an agro-industrial revolution by turning Nigeria's agricultural produce into value-added products, creating jobs, and boosting the economy in partnership with the federal and state governments, as well as other strategic partners. Moving on, ahead of the International Day of Breastfeeding, prominent Islamic scholars in Kaduna State have thrown their weight behind the campaign for child spacing, citing religious backing and health benefits for women and children. The call was made during a one-day sensitization meeting with the imams and ulamas in Kaduna. The event aimed to bridge the gap between health education and religious understanding by engaging influential faith leaders. Speaking at the event, Dr. Yakubu Arigasiu, a medical practitioner and a scholar from the Council of Ulamas, emphasized that Islam supports the concept of child spacing. Troops of Operation Will Stroke have rescued 11 kidnapped victims and recovered a significant cache of arms and ammunition during a coordinated offensive against criminal elements in Benue and parts of neighboring Taraba states. Benue State correspondent Felicity Ndere brings us more.
The Operation Wild Stroke, in well-coordinated high-impact operation due to the offensive escalating criminal activities, carried out a major raid on Teaho and Chito communities in Okum local government area of Benue State. The operation took place between August 2nd and 3rd, 2025, with air support and strategic ground positioning by Sector 3 troops in neighboring Taraba State.
They were saying today is a bad market for them, so the informant gave them wrong information. That's the reason why they kidnapped me.
Briefing journalists at the Force headquarters in Makudi, Force Commander of Operation Wild Stroke, Major General Moses Gara, said the troops engaged suspected kidnappers in a firefight, leading to the arrest of 2 key suspects and the rescue of 11 hostages, including police inspectors who had been held in captivity for weeks.
In the recent past, we have received reports of kidnapping in the Sankara axis of Benue State, that is Katsina Ala, Okum and Logo axis. we conducted a deliberate operations that led to the rescue of 11 kidnapped victims, including 2 serving police inspectors. 2 suspects were arrested during this operation. They are in our custody. They are being profiled. One was an armorer, while the second was the security chap that was looking after the kidnapped victims.
The raid is said to have weakened the criminals' capacity with the recovery of weapons and ammunition, while rescued victims described enduring torture, starvation and fear, expressing gratitude for their freedom.
On the 14th, I was granted leave due to my health condition. So on my way around 8 p.m., I saw a place like a checking point. I saw 2 men armed rush to my car. They asked me to step out. I stepped out. They collected my phone, collected the money I have. So one of them gripped me and dragged me into the bush.
So on the 16th June, while I was on my way to my station, between Zakibian and Wukari, we ran into a group of kidnappers. Today I am 48 days in their camp.
Recovered significant haul of weapons and logistics from the objective area by troops included 4 FN rifles, 3 G3 rifles, 4 AK-47 rifles, 1 PKT machine gun, 1 locally fabricated Danne gun, 15 AK-47 magazines, 3 FN rifle magazines, 31 rounds of 7.62 mm NATO ammunition, 184 rounds of 7.62 mm by 54 ammunition, 1 pistol magazine, 5 smoke discharge canisters, and several fetish charms. In Makudi, Felicity Ndere reporting for Global TV News.
FCT Minister Nyesom Wike says the internal crisis in the People's Democratic Party, PDP, has subsided for now, following the recent exit of some top party figures, including Atiku Abubakar. Speaking during a media chat in Abuja, Wike noted that although the situation has calmed, there are still some unresolved matters the party must address. He insisted that the PDP needs internal reflection and decisive action to remain relevant. Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, says the Federal Capital Territory will begin sealing off properties in Abuja whose owners have failed to pay ground rent despite a grace period approved by President Tinubu. Speaking during a media parley, Wike said non-payment of taxes is unacceptable and warned that no political or investment concerns will stop enforcement. The warning follows the earlier sealing of the People's Democratic Party's secretariat among nearly 4,800 properties affected by the revocation. The Minister of Works, David Umahi, has dismissed all false and misleading publication that claimed the Southeast is neglected in road infrastructure development. This is contained in a statement by Mohammed Ahmed, Director, Press and Public in the ministry, insisting that President Bola Tinubu has been fair to all regions of the country, including the Southeast. He also stated that the president had revived 90% of abandoned road projects, some dating back to 2013, and is still executing new ones without discrimination. The West Africa Examination Council, WAEC, has announced the release of the results for the 2025 West Africa Senior School Certificate Examination for school candidates. In a statement issued via X, the examination body confirmed that candidates who sat for the exams can now access their results online. The Kwara State government has approved 20 billion naira to bridge gap in the state's public school infrastructure and has directed the amount to be captured in the supplementary budget. Commissioner for Education, Dr. Lawal Oluhonbebe, who made the disclosure in Ilorin, said the fund will support extensive upgrades ongoing since 2020. He emphasized that the investment follows the state's renewed relationship with Universal Basic Education Commission to improve learning environment across schools. Moving on, the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, has recommended contingency plan for states across the country to address the challenges of flooding and other disasters. The agency's head of operations for Abia and Imo, Nnamdi Igwe, made the recommendation while speaking in an interview in Owerri, Imo State capital, following a 5-day responders on disaster preparedness and flood response. Igwe, who described the workshop as imperative, said, given the rainy season and rising floods as well as expert prediction, it is necessary for Imo to produce contingency plans to tackle the situation. You are watching the live broadcast of News Prime. When News Prime returns, Ghana raises cocoa prices ahead of 2025 farming season. Details coming shortly, plus foreign and sports stories on the other side of this break. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you're just tuning in, this is News Prime on Global Television, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. Now we go to the business story, where Ghana increased the producer price of cocoa by more than 60% ahead of the 2025-2026 season, a move expected to put pressure on top cocoa producing rivals like the Ivory Coast. The move could also raise global cocoa costs even further at a time when supply chains are already tightening due to climate shocks and aging farms. Finance Minister Cassiel Ato-Fersen says the rate paid to farmers will rise from $3,100 to $5,040 per ton, a 62.58% increase. Moving on, the federal government has reaffirmed its resolve to provide Nigerians with stable and uninterrupted electricity supply as President Bola Tinubu intensifies efforts to reform the power sector under the Renewed Hope agenda. Minister of Power Adebayo Adelabu restated this commitment at the weekend during the commissioning of the Kwaru injection substation in Ikotunebe, Lagos State. Adelabu said the President Tinubu's administration, while driving the Renewed Hope agenda, recognizes that energy is not merely a commodity, but the backbone of economic growth and job creation. President Bola Tinubu has waded into the growing concerns over the possible suspension of funding for key road infrastructure projects being executed under the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited Tax Credit Scheme. Speaking during an engagement held in Abuja with the affected contractors, the Minister of Works, David Umahi, relayed President's message, reaffirming the administration's unwavering commitment to infrastructure development. Umahi said, in a decisive move to avert disruptions and allay stakeholders' fear, the President has issued firm directives to ensure continuity of scheme and the timely release of payment to contractors. Now we go to the foreign scene, where India and Philippines have staged their first joint sail and naval exercises in the disrupted South China Sea. The two-day joint military deployment that kicked off is likely to anger China, which claims nearly the entire key waterway and has separate territorial disputes with the two Asian countries. Philippine Chief of Staff Romeo Bronner Jr. said the joint sail took place inside the country's exclusive economic zone. Still on the foreign scene, one person had been confirmed dead and 11 others injured after a collision between a bus and a freight train in Russia's Leningrad region, according to local railway authorities. Officials say the bus drove onto a level crossing in front of an oncoming train, and though the train driver applied emergency brakes, the crash could not be avoided. Emergency services responded to the scene while investigations are ongoing to determine whether the bus was a regular service vehicle or a tourist bus, as conflict reports suggest. Saudi Arabia has executed 17 people in just 3 days, including 2 Saudis convicted of terrorism and 15 others, mostly foreigners, for drug offenses like hashish and cocaine smuggling. The pace of execution is the highest since March 2022, when 81 were killed in a single day, drawing global outrage. With 239 executions already recorded in 2025, the kingdom appears set to surpass last year's record of 338. And now we go to sports, where President Bola Tinubu hosted a presidential reception at the new banquet hall of the Presidential Villa, Abuja, in honor of Nigeria's women's basketball team, the Tigress, following their historic triumph at the 2025 FIBA Women's Afro-Basket Championship. The victorious team and their officials were also warmly welcomed by the First Lady, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, supported by the wife of the Vice President, Nana Shettima. Vice President Kashim Shettima, who represented Tinubu, commended the team for their exceptional performance and dedication, describing them as worthy ambassadors of Nigeria. And still in sports, world record holder in the women's 100-meter hurdles, Tobi Amusan, has cruised in victory to an event at the 2025 Athletic Federation of Nigeria's national trials at the Yaba College of Technology Sports Complex in Lagos. The 20-year-old fired quickly off the block at the Yaba Tech Sports Complex and willed away to clinch the first position in time of 12.57 seconds for her 5th title. Amusan finished ahead of rising star Adaobi Tobobu, who came second in a time of 13.03 seconds, while Faith Osamui placed third in a time of 13.36 seconds. And as global television news comes to an end, let's take a look at our top stories. We told you that Vice President Kashim Shettima has affirmed Nigeria's commitment to strengthening diplomatic ties with the Republic of Congo, acknowledging the leadership of President Denis Sassou Nguesso in promoting regional peace and stability, especially across Africa's Great Lakes region. In business, we told you Ghana has increased the producer price of cocoa by more than 60% ahead of the 2025-2026 season, a move expected to put pressure on top cocoa-producing rivals like Ivory Coast. On the foreign scene, we told you India and the Philippines have staged their first joint sail and naval exercises in the disputed South China Sea. And finally, on sports, we told you President Bola Tinubu hosted a presidential reception at the new banquet hall of the Presidential Villa Abuja in honor of Nigeria's women's basketball team, the Tigress, following their heroic triumph at the 2025 FIBA Women's Afrobasket Championship. And that is it on Global TV News Prime. A quick reminder, the Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and StarTimes channel 276. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms now showing on your screen using the handle @GlobalTVNG. I am Priscilla Obasi. Thank you very much for watching. Good evening.